Good evening. I'm Chief Meteorologist Paul Williams, providing you with bonus coverage on our app with a set of severe storms making its presence and impacting the immediate Sussex County area. We are notifying you via our social media app platforms as well as our website because we have an active severe thunderstorm warning. It is in effect until 6 o'clock. We have winds that are accelerating beyond 60 miles per hour. And now with the latest numbers we've just acquired from the observations of this storm, as I go full screen for you right now, this storm is now moving to the east at approximately 60 miles per hour. It is running and gunning its way through the eastern area right now. And as it continues to plow in that direction, I'm going to freeze it on the last frame right now to kind of get a feel as to where is this storm at this present time. So it's affecting the folks that are in the communities of Claiborne, Whitman, just south of Graysonville, Carmichael, Copperville, and St. Michael. Now, this is where the most active storm is located. This is also the storm that's prompting the severe thunderstorm warning. Now, just to kind of give you a feel as to the stats on what's connected to that severe thunderstorm warning, it's in effect until 6 o'clock. Not only that, the hazard is 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and penny-sized hail is the history and the playbook on this storm as it begins to move very rapidly throughout Sussex County. I'm going to erase this out of the way and kind of illustrate for you what's happening with this cell. First of all, where we're seeing the most impact is happening right now. We're zooming in tight so we can see what communities just to the south of Queenstown, Carmichael, so you can have a frame of reference as to what we're talking about. As I pull out here and show you a little wider view, we're putting it on the left side because we want to first of all gauge what's happening with this entire line, because this entire line is racing towards the east very rapidly at 60 miles per hour. So we're expecting for the entire line to affect places, for example, like Easton at 5:44, pardon me, Dover at 6 o'clock, Seaford at 6:16, Milford at 6:17, and Lower at 6:38. Now, the entire line means that we're looking at blinding conditions on the roads. We advise strongly that you stay inside, stay in the area, and stay away from any kind of windows because any kind of flying debris from these storms is going to cause problems, and that's where a lot of injuries are a result from this. As we put this into motion, I want you to note something. This is a very rapid moving storm, and that's what makes it so dangerous. You see how this entire line that I'm pointing out here with the pointer here, it's coming out of Easton and it's headed towards Denton and over towards the Seaford area. And this right here, the box that I'm highlighting you right here, this block is inclusive of, and this is the line of Sussex County right here, it's inclusive of Sussex County. So where is it going to strike first? Bottom line, it's going to strike Highway 13. I'm freezing it back for the first frame, the last frame, so we can see what's happening. We have no areas of circulation for it immediately, but now let's track the cell that I've been most concerned with. This is tracking to the east at about 60 miles per hour. As I begin to push this into our system and calculate this for you, here's what's happening. We're looking at it making its impact felt throughout portions of Trap at 5:48. We're looking forward to affecting the folks that are in Federalsburg at 6:02. Then look for this same cell of concern to begin to march its way through Seaford, possibly hitting you right around 6:10. Georgetown, anticipate the weather conditions to deteriorate rapidly by 6:22. And then finally, still expected to stay strong, making its way over towards Ocean View. This is a very short cycle with this storm, and because it's moving so rapidly, we have to be very mindful of how quickly it can change as far as the aspect of the storm is concerned. We begin to kind of dig into some of the aspects of the storm because when you have a storm that's this strong, you begin to become concerned about whether or not it has the potential of going from a severe thunderstorm to possibly changing over to a tornado. And the reason why is because the northern parts of this storm, you see the circulation I'm highlighting for you, where you see the circle near Chestertown, that's indicating early circulation in the upper atmosphere. And just so you have context, the most northern portion of the storm has already prompted a tornado warning up towards the Wilmington area. That's why we are taking this so seriously. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of a analytical trick that's a behind the scenes look at how we begin to analyze some of these storms. I'm changing the aspect, and I'm going to freeze it on now. What you're looking at, it looks like a different type of a view from a radar standpoint. This is a more analytical view. So I'm going to, first of all, dissect this storm through the middle and take more of a forensic view of this. We're going to use what's called our 3D slice tool. I'm going from the bottom here, watch how I do the line, to the top. And I'm going to explain to you why this is significant. Because as we begin to look at this, you'll see whether this storm is reaching certain thresholds of great concern. So notice this with this storm. As I use this pointer to show you, this is the 20,000 foot line here, and then right here is the 30,000 foot line. So in the sense, this is good news. Now, although we do have a lot of red aspect that's pushing up, that's the core of the storm, and the strength of it, that's kind of like the bicep of the storm that's flexing right now, okay? As that continues to push through, if that bicep of that storm goes up to 40,000 feet, then, and we have some circulatory signatures, that's when we are greatly concerned about this becoming more tornadic. And because we're still in the midst of daylight hours, that is why we're making a special exception right now, giving you this bonus coverage between our newscasts. We're going to push this back to where it was, and I'm going to erase all these other things off, because now this storm is moving so fast that we have to literally recalculate how fast and where this storm is going. Once again, we're looking at a cell. This cell is what I'm concerned with right here. It's racing to the east at approximately 60 miles per hour. It's moving so fast we're going to need to reposition this just a little bit. There we go. Now, this cell is moving to the east at approximately 60 miles per hour. And so now the new calculations, even though it's only varied very slightly, we're expecting for this cell to begin to affect the folks. I'm going to push it up to 65 miles per hour. Okay, so it's going to hit the Preston community. I'm going to move this out of the way so you can see this a little bit better here. The Preston community at the top of the hour, then hitting Federalsburg by 6:08, and then beginning to hit the Seaford area by 6:16. And then our calculations are indicating that the folks that are in Milford are likely to be affected by this storm at about 6:27. And then it's still going to spill over into Ocean View by 6:44. Chris, if you could, go ahead and put this thing in motion for me and erase it. A couple of things we want to keep in mind, and we can go I'll go full screen with it, Chris, in a second. As you're looking at this, go ahead and erase that track. Thank you, Chris. I'm here with meteorologist Chris Mastrono, who's also helping us with tracking this system right now. The good news is, zoom in on that if you would, a little bit tighter, right to the north of Easton, Chris. So as I'm seeing one particular area near Cordova, that's it. I want you to freeze the frame there for me, Chris. That particular area is becoming a little more intense right now as the rest of the storm is beginning to kind of break up. Now I'm going to go full screen again so we can have an even better view of what's happening with this system. You see that? And there's coming out of Y Mills, Longwoods, and Cordova, and it's tracking its way over towards Downs. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit tighter, Chris, and see if we have any other landmarkers that shows where, okay, that's what I wanted to see. So if you are in the Willoughby community, Hillsborough community, this is knocking on your door right now. You're going to notice outside of your home, if you're in Hillsborough, that the weather conditions or the conditions in general are going to deteriorate very rapidly. We're looking at significant winds at 60 miles per hour, and you may be running into some hail. If you see circulation or you see clouds looking like they're looking like a tornado above, remember, it's not a tornado until it hits the ground. Until that point, it's really a funnel cloud, and we actually had funnel clouds, a funnel cloud that we had documented with one of our viewers just yesterday. This is a severe thunderstorm warning. It is in effect. You can zoom out a little bit more now, Chris, and let's go ahead and see how this is rolling through. This is moving rapidly to the east at approximately 60 to 65 miles per hour. And it looks like we're still in the same general area. If I'm seeing this correctly, okay, so towards the Trap area, we're looking at this storm losing a little bit of a strength, not enough for you to relax, but also up headed towards Denton and Harrington and Milford. If the track stays true to form right now, it looks like this is a storm that's, and the most impressive and impactful aspect of the storm, that's what's actually going to begin to walk a very fine line along the Kent County and the Sussex County border. And it begins to push on through. Go ahead and Chris, and let's see if we can go ahead and see if we can track the cell that cell that's above Matthews. That's it. Push it over to the left a little bit more. Now this cell is located north of Eastern, right along Highway 50, just to the south of Centerville. Freeze it on that last frame there, Chris. There we go. And then we track it. Now, that's only a 30 mile per hour, so let's redo that because it's moving so rapidly, we may have to pull out just a little bit more, but give you a better feel. But those are the communities that are in the path of this storm. There we go, over to the left. And we see that cell near Matthews. It's going to march its way through Denton. Catch the front end of that. You can go ahead and freeze it so it doesn't continue to move for a second so we can see it a little bit better there. There you go. Wonderful. Okay, so now it's going to make its way throughout the Denton community, followed immediately throughout the Harrington community, and then as I kind of push it over here so you can see a better view of it on your app, we're looking at it hitting the Milford community, and then we're seeing it spread out for Milton, and then likely to possibly even move over towards the Lewis area. Now, to the north, these cells are even more intense, and as the sun is going down, it's helpful that portions of this line, the squall line activity, is beginning to at least die a somewhat quick death because it's such a rapid mover. It's actually beginning to do something that's similar to autophagy. It's self-devouring to a certain extent, but that can be nullified by the fact that we still have access. You can erase that track and then put a wider view on that for us, Chris. But that can be nullified as the result of still having exposure, access to solar energy. Remember, the sun acts as a literal Energizer Bunny bat rabbit. You know the Energizer Bunny, boom, boom, boom. Well, see, that's the kind of effect that the sun can have on a squall line like this. And so as we freeze it on the last frame, we're going to take a look at this from a squall line tracking standpoint. All right, so we zoom in just a little bit tighter, and now I'm going to give you a wider view or more up close view of what's happening here. We freeze it on the last frame, first of all right, and now we're going to draw a line from the top to the north so that we can begin to gauge what's happening with the entire line. And then as we move it over towards the east, okay, we'll do it again. As we move it over towards the east, we see that all the communities that are in alignment to deal with the storm, there we go. Now just move it straight over to the east. All right, and it's going to work in our favor for this storm to begin to slide through, because here's what we're concerned with. As we move this here, we release it at the bottom, and then it moves automatically over in this direction. All right, so we're looking at 60. It's picking up momentum, so we're going to cheat a little so we can get ahead of the storm. All right, and then we see, for example, the folks that are in Maurice River, all the way up to Egg Harbor, to even Atlantic City, they're all going to be affected by this entire squall line. Now, one thing we want to make a distinction. When I say squall line, that's that entire long line that you see right here. This is squall line tracking. In other words, that's saying that everyone that's affected by this storm, by how it's tracking across, as it begins to push across, the entire line begins to make an impact. And so many communities are in that path. But when you're looking at a squall line, you can't judge every single part of it equally. Some parts of the line are stronger, some parts of the line are weaker. So go ahead and erase that squall line tracking, if you would, Chris. Then that's why we have to specifically pinpoint from a local standpoint, take a microscopic look at each particular cell as it moves throughout our immediate area. Since we are primarily concerned with Sussex, now you see that we're going to dive in deeper to Sussex County, and as it begins to pull on through, we're starting to see this storm emerge over towards Denton. Hey, Chris, give me a better view on the left side. There we go. Yeah, thank you. Over towards Easton. There we go. Freeze it on the last frame if you would. And go ahead and click on the inquiry on the button so we can highlight at the top where we at as far as the warnings that are concerned in the area. We have an active severe thunderstorm warning. It's still in effect and for the next 7 minutes. And likely, and this is where being the old guy in the newsroom comes into play, okay? So it's likely that we're going to see this severe thunderstorm warning possibly extended over towards the Milford and the Georgetown area. It's not a guarantee, but the way that we're trending, we're not dying quickly enough to subside the concern for severe storms. But it's at least dying enough to the point where right now you can say pretty confidently that we're not necessarily looking at a tornadic event unless things just whip up very quickly, and unprecedented things happen on a daily basis, especially when you take into account global warming and all the things that have happened as anomalies of weather continue to push through. And we are just slightly concerned about gaining enough weather information because we've seen some holes in some of the data, and sometimes and it could possibly be related to some of the cuts and all that type of stuff in staffing. But we're pretty confident that the staffing is at fully staffed in light of this severe weather and threatening event. So that's not a concern for us right now, but there's always those human factors that we have to go into play. But as of right now, from what I see, and the old guy that I am from seeing this for the last 40 years, we are looking at this severe storm staying active, going through Easton, Federalsburg, and then towards Andrewville. But not only that, because even when we get rid of this cell, let the folks see what we have as far as the watch is concerned, if you would, Chris. As we widen the scope here, we have pinpointed what's happening in the immediate Sussex County area, but we also have an active severe thunderstorm watch that stays in effect until 9 o'clock. Now, just for clarity, when we talk about a watch, that means we have all the ingredients on the table, so to speak, and that's where you see all the pink, okay? So we have the entire area, all of the Delmarva Peninsula is under a severe thunderstorm watch. That includes Accomack, Northampton, Worcester, as well as all of Wacomico, Dorchester, Somerset, and Sussex County as well, and that stays in effect until 9 o'clock. So we have the threat of a bad storm until then. Now let's go back to the radar, if you would. But as far as immediate threat is concerned, we are still under the threat of a severe thunderstorm warning in Sussex County, and that's where you see the highlighted yellow boxes right now. That line is moving so rapidly, and by the way, we have actually some additional, you see how that just flashed on your screen? That's an additional one. Remember when I was just talking about how don't be surprised if that's extended? Well, you saw live there that for Dover, we saw that warning is extended north of Dover. So when I look at that cell, I'm going to jump up and look at something here. When I look at this cell right here, as I freeze it, as I look at this particular cell has prompted the severe thunderstorm warning to continue beyond this line here, and it was extended out here. Now look at the intensity here. That's a red, all right? That's a decent red. Why am I feeling relatively confident that this may be extended for us here in Sussex? Because as I look at the red that's threatening us immediately, you'll notice a difference in trend. We have a darker red here, and that's the simplest way of me putting it, and over here towards Easton, two areas, and you see how that just grew on the last frame right there? That's why I'm concerned about that pushing through and causing more concerns for additional severe thunderstorm warnings, best case scenario, and this cell is continuing to track towards the east at approximately 60 to 65 miles per hour. So I'm now looking forward to push its way over towards Lewis. We are getting ready to transition from our app right over to our newscast, which is about to start in approximately 3 minutes. We want to encourage you to please be weather mindful and conscious of what you're doing. We are going to continue to keep you updated. We're going to transition from our app right over to our live newscast. I will see you at the top of the newscast. Stay weather aware, stay mindful, and please, most of all, be sure you stay safe. Meteorologist Chris Mastrono and myself will continue to give you team coverage of the storm as it pushes across the immediate Sussex County area.